It's time for an episode of The Real Crimes of Kurri Kurri. Yes, it's one of the many small local courts in New South Wales that offers a glimpse into the petty crimes happening in a typical Australian town. Kurri Kurri Local Court sat this week on Tuesday the 12th of November 2024, and here's a summary. First, did we in the gallery learn anything new? Probably guilty is not an acceptable plea. It needs to be either guilty or not guilty, not probably guilty. The majority of cases were adjourned, but a few people were sentenced on what I would describe as a slow day. There's only a handful of people around, and court finished within 2 hours as they had a lot of people that didn't show up. So what real crimes of Kurri were dealt with? There's a guy driving a heavy vehicle who failed to stop at one of the truck checking stations in December 2023. He was a no-show, so the magistrate proceeded without him. The offence was proven in his absence. He was convicted, fined $700 and ordered to pay professional costs. Then the guy who got caught doing around 100 k's per hour in an 80 zone. He showed up, pled guilty, was convicted and fined $330. The guy was self-represented, well organised and spoke well. Then there was a guy seeking a property recovery order who no longer wanted the order because he got his stuff back. So that case was dismissed. Then there's the woman who pled guilty to mid-range drink driving. She was self-represented and spoke well. She admitted being embarrassed when the magistrate asked some clarifying questions. She was convicted, fined $440, disqualified from driving for 3 months, and will have an interlock for 12 months when she gets a licence back. I thought a case like this highlighted that facing a magistrate in some of these situations could be very embarrassing and therefore a deterrent. Then there was a guy who was charged with 1 count of stalk and intimidate, which he allegedly did to his mum. He was absent, but his solicitor showed up. This occurred in 2022, and the magistrate described how the defendant's mum had just returned from hospital to find jewellery missing. They argued, which is where the defendant threatened his mum. Yes, out loud, the magistrate repeats what the defendant allegedly said, which includes the C word. The court is told the defendant is very young and has a complex range of issues. There's been no fresh offending in the past 2 years since the incident. In the end, there was no conviction recorded and the charge was dismissed. However, an AVO for 2 years is made to protect his mum. Then there's a woman who was also absent but had contacted the court to say she was sick. This is her second driving offence. This time the offence was driving disqualified and driving with drugs present in her system. The drug was meth. She was fined $440 and disqualified for a further 4 months. Then another guy who didn't show up and was sentenced in his absence. The offences from June 2024 were drive disqualified and mid-range drink driving, where he blew .144. Then he was charged with another drive disqualified because he was caught driving again in September 2024 when he was caught for a minor speeding offence. Anyways, for the mid-range drink driving, it was $400 fine, a further 6 months disqualification and a 12-month interlock when he gets his licence back. The first drive disqualified, he was fined $660 and a 6-month disqualification. The second drive disqualified was a fine of $800 and another 6-month disqualification. Finally, he was fined $220 and convicted of speeding. The final case for the day was another drive disqualified, also absent. By the way, at this stage, it's late morning and there is no one around, just me sitting in the gallery. They repeatedly call the last defendants before proceeding without them. Also, they call these Kurri defendants over at Cessnock Local Court in case they've accidentally turned up there. The last guy got stopped at an RBT, random breath test, where it was discovered he was disqualified from driving. It's his second offence, so the magistrate decides there needs to be a higher fine to be a specific deterrence for this particular person. He was convicted, fined $1,200 and disqualified from driving for 6 months. I wouldn't assume Kurri is all about disqualified drivers. Yes, there are a few on this day, but to be fair, disqualified drivers appear everywhere and anywhere in New South Wales. Looking at patterns in sentencing statistics from the New South Wales Local Court, it's likely there will be about 15,000 people in 2024 for drive disqualified or suspended being dealt with by the court. This is only 3 of those likely 15,000 people that will be dealt with by the court this year. Before I go, there are 3 Kurri cases to watch out for in the next couple of months. First is the case about the guy who failed to display his P plates. He has pled not guilty and a hearing is set for March 2025. Second is the case about the guy who allegedly was driving on a traffic island with a missing seatbelt. He hasn't entered a plea yet. Third are 2 women who have been charged with a fray. We don't know the circumstances yet, however, a fray usually means fighting in public. One woman has pled not guilty, however, the other hasn't entered a plea yet. The court usually takes care when there are co-offenders, because if they both plead not guilty, the cases will need to travel together. It's likely they will become a joint hearing. But we will see what happens next with these cases when court sits later in November in Kurri Kurri.